talk about a system to put in place for the firm's accounts payable or the bills that the firm has to pay. So this can get kind of convoluted, and I've seen times where clients may have 3 or 4 different people paying bills and nobody really knows what's getting paid or why, and sometimes things are late, or more frequently things are getting paid for that the firm doesn't actually really need, or subscriptions maybe that they're not using. So at the top level, we recommend that you have one person in charge of the firm's bills. So this person then knows why we are paying something, knows when it's due, and can really track all of that stuff. So all of the spending should really go through this one person. And you want to consider an approval process. So we have some clients that like the firm owner to approve the bills, and this can be done fairly easy electronically through Adobe, or just putting a stack of bills actually on the owner's desk. So however that works good for you and what sort of control you want to have as the firm owner needs to be what you want to implement and what you're comfortable with. So we want to assign this to one person, make sure all the spending goes through them, have an approval process if that's something that's important to you as a firm owner, and then third, have a budget. So one of the places that I see firm spending get a little bit out of control is office supplies, and setting a budget for that and then holding your purchasing agent, I guess is what you would call them, responsible for the budget is critical to make sure that you're not overspending. And having that one person in charge of it is also going to help avoid overspending, because they know that we have a stack of 2,000 binders sitting in the closet, so we don't need to order anymore. But if you have multiple people doing that, they may not know that. So as far as accountability goes, all spending goes through one person, have an approval process, and then have a budget in place and make sure they're tracking it and they have a way to track that. So that's sort of the high level piece that you need to think about. When you get into actually making purchases and paying for things, there's really 3 types of purchases that are made. The first is going to be purchases on the fly. So that's taking a client out to lunch, or automobile expense with gas, however you're running that through your firm. And then you're going to have reoccurring expenses. These are things like rent, subscriptions, and then the third piece is invoices that come in. So maybe you have some web design done and you get an invoice from your web designer, and that's not something that happens all the time. So looking at those 3 pieces, when you're talking about on-the-fly purchases, I highly recommend credit cards. So they're easy, it's fast, you can give different staff access to them. I do recommend for an internal control purpose that you have each staff that is doing purchasing has their own credit card. That way there's no finger pointing if something happens and saying, oh, well, John used my card. I don't know what that big screen TV is for. So if you are going to go the credit card route, make sure the folks that have authority to purchase with it have their own card. Or you can also handle this through employee reimbursement. So if you don't want to give a card, or maybe the purchasing is extremely infrequent, you can set up a system to reimburse employees for their business expenses through payroll. So on the fly, either credit card or expense reimbursement through payroll seems to work the best. On those reoccurring expenses, you can use credit cards for this as well. So subscriptions, those kinds of things work well on credit cards. Or if it's something like rent that you don't pay with a credit card, you can use your online bill pay through your bank and set up reoccurring payments. That check just gets cut every month and it's free, so it doesn't cost you anything. And then the third piece are the invoices that just randomly come in for different things. So again, these need to go to the responsible person and they need to be paying them. We recommend getting on a cycle, so every 2 weeks you pay bills, and that way you can gather everything up and the person paying the bills isn't constantly, every day trying to get bills paid. So you can do this, of course, credit card, or you can also use the online bill pay through your bank. So those are other options for those non-reoccurring expenses that come in. So there are options for firm accounts payable like bill.com. These can be fairly expensive, and most of the expenses that firms have are reoccurring type expenses. So it's fairly easy and efficient to either use credit card or use your online bill pay that you have through your bank, which is free. So I hope that helps you get a system in place for paying accounts payable. And if you have any questions or any comments, I'd love to hear from you on that. Thanks.